Welcome to Conversations Live. I'm Muqtedar Khan, your host, and today I'm going to talk about three topics. I'm going to touch upon them very briefly. I've already spoken at length on one of that topics, and then after that, if there are any questions or any comments, I'll be happy to answer them. So my first topic is basically that the United States government has announced the TRF, which was the front of Lashkar-e-Taiba in Pakistan and Kashmir as a terrorist organization. So this is they not only they have two categorizations. One is a terrorist organization, a foreign terrorist organization, and then they also have a special category of organizing groups which have a global impact. So the U.S. State Department yesterday labeled TRF as a terrorist organization. Let me pull it up for you. TRF as a State Department's resolution. It's basically two, three paragraphs of statement, and I don't know what it does really, because Lashkar-e-Taiba is also listed as a terrorist organization, not only by the State Department, but also by the United Nations and the UN Security Council. They have also listed Lashkar-e-Taiba as a terrorist organization. So this is what the State Department really says: terrorist designation, uh, and today, the Department of State is adding the Resistance Front, TRF, as designated foreign terrorist organization and specially designated global terrorist. So this SDGT. TRF, a Lashkar-e-Taiba Elite Front and proxy, claimed responsibility for the April 22 to 2025 Pahalgam attack, which killed 26 civilians. So what is interesting for people in India would be that these actions taken by the Department of State demonstrates the Trump administration's commitment to protecting our national security interests, countering terrorism, and enforcing President Trump's call for justice for the Pahalgam attack. Now, if you wish, you could, nitpick this whole statement and say, well, it does not talk about the United States' interest in protecting its ally, the India, or protecting civilians in India, and all it does is just labels TRF as a terrorist organization, talks more about it as a threat to U.S. interests. At least it could say that it is a part of the U.S. national interest that India be safe from terrorist attacks. But at least they said, okay, fine, we are doing this in pursuit of justice for Pahalgam. But there's no mention of Pakistan, no condemnation of states. They could have even at least vaguely said that we condemn those who support TRF. And it could be you could say that it gives the US an out, right? So they could say we condemn TRF as a terrorist organization, and we also condemn those who are supporting TRF. And so if Indians ask, what do you mean? They can tell India, of course, we mean Pakistan. And if Pakistanis ask, what do you mean? They can say, oh, we mean Lashkar-e-Taiba. So they could have even had a diplomatic addition to that, which would have made India happier. But apparently, these days, India is happy to get whatever it gets from the United States. This has been touted as a major diplomatic victory for India, but I think this is just a bit of crumb tossed towards India, partly because it does suit the US interests. The US, if you were watching the confirmation hearings of Marco Rubio as Secretary of State, Tulsi Gabbard as the Director of our National Intelligence. So I watched both of those hearings, and in both cases, both of them suggested that Islamic radicalism or Islamic terrorism was a big threat to the United States. And so they saw as one of their goals to fighting Islamic terrorism. So for the United States to list TRF as a terrorist organization is is a low hanging fruit. Really, it's no biggie. They would have done it even before Pahalgam if the Indian government had lobbied harder. But anyway, so if the Indian government wants to see this as a diplomatic victory, then congratulations to them. I don't see it as a major victory. I just see it something routine that has been done by the State Department. Not once has Donald Trump himself said anything to condemn TRF. In fact, yesterday Donald Trump said something even more provocative while he was talking to some Republican donors. I think he said basically that, oh, we did this great thing of bringing about peace between India and Pakistan, and the fighting between India and Pakistan was getting very serious. In fact, 4 to 5 jets were shot down. He did not say whose jets, but he did say 4 to 5 jets were shot down in that war before the United States basically used its leverage, trade as a leverage to bring about ceasefire. So this is maybe the 25th time that Donald Trump has taken credit for the ceasefire between India and Pakistan. And of course, the Pakistanis have given full credit to the US, and India has continued to deny the role of Donald Trump, even though there is clear acknowledgement that all night Americans were talking to both Indians and Pakistanis. Rubio spoke with Dr. Jaishankar, and then Rubio spoke with Ajit Doval in his dual capacity as Secretary of State and National Security Advisor. And J.D. Vance, the US Vice President, spoke with Narendra Modi. And then they were also speaking with Shehbaz Sharif and Asim Munir and Isaac Dar. And then finally, in the morning, Donald Trump announced the ceasefire. And if this was something just done between India and Pakistan, then how would Donald Trump be able to make an announcement? Unfortunately, nobody asks that question of the Indian government. I mean, how come it was Donald Trump who was the first to announce the ceasefire between India and Pakistan? Why wasn't it India or Pakistan if it was just between the two of them? What was Donald Trump doing? Was he spying on the conversations? So there are many questions about that particular issue, but nevertheless, a win is a win. So this is a small win for India that the US has now labeled TRF as a terrorist organization. If there are any questions and comments, I will read them and answer them towards the end. But at the moment, I'm just going to focus on the other two issues that I want to address. The second issue is about dollar decline. So I did a full presentation, which I uploaded uh, a few hours ago on this channel, but I was hoping that there would be some questions, if there are any, for me to answer it. So here's what is basically happening. Uh, the dollar is powerful because of three things that happen. Number one, it is powerful and influential because it is the reserve currency of the world. So, for example, if a country wants to save resources and money, in the past they used to do it in terms of gold. Now they do it in terms of dollars, and they also do it in terms of gold and silver. But at the moment, dollar is 60% of the international reserve currency. So of all the things that countries save, dollar is 60%. So that is why dollar is so much more important. I remember once I uh, in Hyderabad, I took an auto in Hyderabad, and uh, I had no plans of taking an auto. It was just I just got nostalgic, so I came out of my hotel and took an auto to go somewhere. An auto is a tuk-tuk. They call it a three-wheeler cab. It is an auto rickshaw. We call it for short, auto. So I took an auto and I went in that. And at the end of it, I looked at it, and I didn't go very far, and it was just 60 rupees or something, the fare. And obviously, I didn't have 60 rupees. So I, I told the auto driver, would he take $1? And he was so thrilled when I gave him that dollar. It was a very interesting moment for him. I said, "You do know that you may have trouble cashing this dollar." So he said, "No, no, no, don't worry. I'll love it. I've never had $1, so I'm going to keep this dollar." But the thing is that to me it was symbolic of the power and magic of the dollar. You won't see that in many other parts of the world. Like if I had given him a Canadian dollar or a Deutschmark or a euro, I don't think he would have been that thrilled. So there is something magical about the value of dollar, and that is beginning to decline. I mean, that's why it's the world's reserve currency. There are lots of rich people who keep their black money in dollars because it can be cashed anywhere in the world. The second thing for that is that for those who are maintaining current accounts for trading purposes, for paying back bank loans for IMF, World Bank, or other international institutions. You borrow in dollars, you sell in dollars. So, for example, let's say that you are India and you are trying to borrow some money to build a bridge or something like that. Would you accept uh, Indonesian currency? Would you accept pesos from a Filipino bank if you are borrowing it from a Filipino bank? Obviously not. You would say, well, give me the loan in dollars. And will that bank take back payments in rupees? No, very rarely. It's only when countries are trading with each other that they can. So, for example, Russia is selling tons and tons of oil to India, about $60 billion worth of oil, and it's taking payments in in dirham, in yuan, and also some rupees. And apparently, they have left all the rupees in a bank in India because they are not buying enough stuff from India. So Russia is exporting over $65 billion worth of oil to India and importing like 2 or 3 or 4 billion dollars worth of stuff. See, we are talking in dollars. But if it were to sell all its oil to India in rupees, it would have $65 billion worth of rupees. What is it going to do with all of those rupees? If it is not shopping from India, it can't go and buy stuff from other countries and pay in rupees. So that's one reason why dollar is very important, that it becomes the currency of the world's exchanges and transactions. Uh, so uh, so what has happened really since Donald Trump became president is, number one, on the dollar index, which measures dollar's strength in comparison to six currencies in the world, the dollar was 1.08, which means, now this is a very tricky thing. What it means is that in January of this month, for $1, you could buy things which cost $1.08. So you were gaining 8 cents if you had a dollar in the international market. Now the dollar uh, on the index has dropped from 108 to 97. So now if you have a dollar, it's equal to 97 cents in international transactions in comparison to euro, in comparison to the Swiss franc, to the Swedish kroner, and the British pound, and one other currency, the Japanese yen. So the dollar has gone from 108 to 97, 98. So there's a huge decline of the dollar in the last 6 months. And it does many things. It means that exports are going to get easier. So if the US wants to export, because dollar is low, you can get, it's an advantage for foreigners. So they can import more stuff from the US for the same amount of their currency now. But for the US, all imports are going to be more expensive. And that is going to cause inflation. On top of that, you have tariffs. So there are now two reasons which are going to cause inflation. And it's beginning to show. It just started. And I think in another month or two, you will see that we are going to be suffering from some significant inflation. So what happens is that when the dollar becomes strong, then inflation goes down, imports become cheaper, and the Feds reduce the interest rates. But when the dollar goes down, then inflation goes up, exports become easier, but imports become more expensive. And you have a problem with interest. So it's not in the US economy's interest to have a weak dollar. It's better to have a strong dollar, unless and only if you want to export stuff, then a weak currency is advantageous. That's why China keeps its currency weaker, because it's an export driven economy. It exports nearly 30% of its GDP. And that's why they like to keep the currency down. For the US, it's a different thing. The US is an importer. So the stronger the currency, the cheaper the things are. And the third thing is about transactions. So right now on SWIFT, only 54% of all transactions are in dollars. And that has gone up from 48%. but I'm not sure that they have gone up because dollar has become strong. They have gone up because Russia is not doing any transactions in dollars. So it is the de-dollarization or exclusion of Russia from um, programs like the SWIFT, which has made the dollar stronger in the SWIFT. So there is an economy now outside SWIFT where Iran deals, trades, Russia trades, India, China, and others are trading. Increasingly, even oil exporting countries in the Middle East are saying that we will start exporting in non-dollar currencies. Saudis and the Chinese have started avoiding dollar dependence, especially for oil. So they're delinking oil and dollar connection. So all of that is hurting the United States. So while Donald Trump has, to his credit, unlike Biden or other past president, Donald Trump recognizes the danger and threat to the US dollar, and he has made very strong statements against those countries who are seeking to de-dollarize. And but the net result at the moment is that the dollar is today weaker than it was 6 months ago. It's down on the dollar index, and it is down in terms of reserves from 60 to 58%. So now only 58% of global currency reserves are in dollar. So that is the second issue that I wanted to talk about. The third issue that I want to talk about is about the peace talks between Russia and Ukraine that begin on Wednesday. So there are a couple of things. First of all, there's no direct dialogue between Zelensky and Putin. So it's really not going to result in a ceasefire. There might be some arrangement about exchanges of prisoners, etc. That's one thing. The second thing is that, and this is something more critical to India than anybody else, is the location of the dialogue. It's in Turkey. So even though it's India which keeps talking about how powerful India is, we are Vishwa Gurus, we are trusted by the Ukrainians, and we are trusted by the Russians, we are trusted by the Iranians, and we are trusted by the Israelis, we are friends of everybody. They have phrases like Vishwa Mitra and all of that. India is not playing the role of hosting these ceasefire dialogues, even though India is supposedly a close friend of Russia and also a close ally of the West. The Europeans trust India, and the Europeans trust the US thinks of India as a strategic partner. But India did not host this dialogue. This is the third or fourth time that the Turks are hosting the ceasefire dialogue. This is the most important conflict in the world, which has divided the world and basically impacted the world globally. And it's Turkey that is playing the peacemaker on this issue, or at least the venue. Not even Switzerland. That's what, to me, it was very surprising that they did not choose Switzerland or even Japan, but it is Turkey. I'm not very sure anything positive is really going to come out of it. The Ukrainians are demanding equal respect, etc. Basically saying that ultimately they're going to say, okay, you need to withdraw from the Donbass and you need to withdraw from Crimea. And the Russians are thinking that this is all waste of time because we are so far apart. So the Russians are saying you surrender and that'll ceasefire. If you don't surrender, there is no ceasefire. Whereas for the Ukrainians, this is a very interesting and significant opportunity because they want to get a ceasefire now, because in a way Trump has given Russia 50 days to freely attack Ukraine. There is an effort to send some Patriots. So US and Germany have now decided to send 5 Patriot missile batteries to Ukraine to protect the cities which are under assault by Russian drones. And the world is so bizarre as I watch it. Russia sends 700 drones, 600 drones to attack Ukrainian cities, and 2 people die. And the world is in uproar about it. And then Palestinians come begging for food, hungry, starving, and the Israelis fire upon them, and 28 die, 50 die, 75 die. Today, about 60 plus people, Palestinians, died. First, they were hungry, they came for the food, for aid, and they were killed. and nobody says anything. It is a bizarre world that we truly live in. People talk about morality and ethics in international affairs. People talk about being, Vishwa Guru, we will teach morality to the rest of the world, and we talk about liberal states, and we talk rule of law, rule-based order. All of that sounds quite rubbish. So anyway, thank you for listening. And if you have not subscribed to Conversations, please subscribe to Conversations, like this video, press the bell icon, and share it with your social political network. For those of you who are members of Conversations, I wanted to let you know that there is a meeting on 27th that I'm having, a Zoom meeting with members only. So if you go to my YouTube channel, you will see, where there are all these places where you can click if you want to see videos, if you want to see shorts, if you want to see posts. So if you go to posts, there you will find for members a link to the Zoom conference, which is going to be next Sunday. So thank you for watching Conversations. Until next time, I'm your host, Muqtedar Khan. Take care. Bye. I'm done, John. You